Adam and Eve didn't have to wait 1,000 years or even 6 weeks for the tomato to actually bloom and make a tomato. You know what I'm saying? I've been a long time ago without food. When God created this earth, He created it like it had been here forever. Right? When Adam opened his eyes, he didn't see a little sapling. He saw a giant redwood. Okay? When he looked, he said, "Man, I'm hungry." He didn't see an apple tree that big. You know what I'm saying? It was already in full bloom with the apples on it. Okay? So, you want something to think about. If you want to try to meld creation with evolution, well, tell me, how did you get a tomato plant without a seed? And how did the seed come without the tomato? I can't see an amoeba turning into a seed, nor can I see it turning into a human, or anything in between there. But I can see God speaking, and it happening. And I tell you tomatoes because this morning I went out and I got 13 tomatoes off my tomato plants. And I've been picking tomatoes for 3 weeks. Okay? Now mind you, I stopped taking care of these tomato plants probably 3 weeks ago. You know, after the first harvest, it's like, okay, this is great, but I was busy. I might have watered them once, but I stopped for a while, I stopped doing everything to them. And those puppies just keep producing tomatoes. You know what I'm saying? Broccoli. Have you ever grown broccoli? Broccoli is an amazing plant. You take off a broccoli head and 2 more sprout out right beside it. I didn't know that. I was thinking one head, pull them out. My brother said, "Don't do that. Just take them." I've been picking broccoli for weeks. And the more I pick, the more comes on the plant. Have you ever thought of why life, if this was just by chance, why is life so ferocious on this earth? I don't mean ferocious in a violent way. I mean ferocious in the will and capacity to live. Like I told you, I'm a landscaper. Go down the street 1 block and look to the left and see what happens when you don't cut your grass. Look at the natural woods here when you don't do nothing and how thick they are. When we were coming here, I was thinking, if you were the first person to land in this state and you got off your boat and you looked at the woods and you're going, how do I get through this? But as all of it said, burn it down. Yeah, burn it down. Get a machete, you cut it, there's a way. You can have an atomic blast, and within a short period of time, plants start to come back up. Are you familiar with the Bikini Atoll, ATOLL? I don't know how you say those. That's where they did the nuclear test for this country. You would think that that place would be just desolate. But because they did the nuclear test there, these were atolls that people weren't allowed to go around. It is some of the most fantastic coral reefs that are there this day today. Okay? Hiroshima. Is it still a desolate area? Have you seen pictures of it? It's more modern than New York City. Life, what God created. How many of you have ever had a tomato? You threw it outside, a bird came and ate it, and then the bird went and flew and did its droppings, and then all of a sudden you've got a tomato plant growing. Or, here you go, in Florida, you have these canals, you know, that because it rains here so much, if there's not water in it today, give it a couple of days, there will be. And there wasn't water there 2 weeks ago, there's water there today, you look in there and there's minnows swimming around. Where did they come from? If every person on this planet were to just disappear, and you would leave the trees and everything, it would continue to grow, and life would continue. Why? Because that life came from God. And that part of God that He gives when He gives us life, the breath of life that goes back to Him when we die, is so powerful. Yes, God even made cockroaches. Why? I don't know. 2 things that have survived a nuclear attack. Cockroaches and Twinkies. Man makes Twinkies, and you see how good they are for you. But cockroaches have intelligence. You don't want to see them in your house, but I mean, they have a purpose. You know what I'm saying? But for an insect, they are highly intelligent.
Hey, John.
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
How come when you have a tomato plant in the garden
Mhm.
and there's a tomato on the plant, how come squirrels eat them before you can get to them?
Because God told the squirrel that this is healthy for you, and this is what you need to eat. And so the squirrels know. My turtle, I have a turtle it's an African spur-thigh tortoise, and it can live 175 years. So it outlived me and my children, but it can get to be 175 pounds when he sees you can ride on. So right now he's probably this big, and he loves tomatoes. And he'll eat them in 2 bites. He loves anything red. He likes strawberries. He likes tomatoes. But God, what we call instinct, God put into the mind of these creatures that He made what is good for them, what they need to eat, okay, how they need to live. My turtle does not need to dig a hole. He needs a burrow, and I've got an igloo doghouse for him, and that's what he lives in. And he's going to get probably next 2 years too big for that thing. And it's a pretty big, igloo. When this turtle digs a hole, my son fell in it one day and he fell into it. No more holes for him. But listen, evolution can answer certain things. Okay? If it didn't, nobody would believe in it. Right? But just like creation, the questions that it answers only leads you to more questions that you can't answer. The theory of creation that you find in Genesis does the same thing. I asked you, and this is where I'm going to end for today, I asked you on day 1, how could there be an evening and a morning, which is a literal 24-hour period, if the sun's not made to the 4th day? Right? Now, here you go. God makes the earth, the dry land, and then He's calling forth the fruit trees. Huh. Do you know what photosynthesis is? How can that take place with no sun? And now, mind you, this is the 3rd day, so there's 3 evening and mornings, and the sun hasn't been made yet. Okay? So, any answers to those questions? And this is why, as Christians, as I said, I need to know certain things, but there are other things I don't need to know. I don't care to know, because I have faith in God. But here's the answer to that question. The sun, as it's going to be made next week in day 4, okay? God makes the sun. Is that right? Is God... Does the sun control God, or does God control the sun? Is God bound by gravity? Is God bound by the laws of nature? Is God bound by the laws of physics? Or since He's the creator of the laws of physics, is He above those? And He can work beyond those, which is what we call the supernatural. Evolution deals with the natural. And they don't believe in supernatural, because if they did, that would mean a higher power, creator, a designer, whatever. So they can't fathom that. Okay? So everything is in the natural realm. Anything outside of that is the supernatural. And that's what's been relegated to the churches. That's God's department. Okay? But here's the question for you. Day 1, day 2, day 3. Does God really need the sun to make a 24-hour period? No. He's the creator of it. If He can speak the dry land up from the water, and here's the thing that I told you, and Ricky brought this up, it's very important. When you go to the book of Revelation, it speaks of the New Jerusalem. Does the sun shine there?
No.
Does it need the sun?
No.
Why?
God is
And I told you that if you were to take the dimensions that I give you in the book of Revelation about the size of the New Jerusalem and it's squared, it would cover 3 of our states. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, and probably Rhode Island because it's tiny. If the light that emanates from your God is strong enough to shine in 3 states, does God need the sun? The light that comes from God, God is life, is that right? So does a tree need the sun if God is standing there? You understand that? The sun gives us a little idea of the power of God, right? Cultures that did not accept God as creator worshipped what? Why? Because the sun gave life. Okay? How does the sun give life? Because it gives off light and it gives off heat. Right? You can take the sun away. If God's standing there, you don't need the sun. Hence why you don't need the sun on day 1, 2, or 3, and why you can still have trees, a 24-hour day, because God is there. And God is above and beyond the laws of physics and the laws of nature. Thank you. Kyla.
I got a question.
Okay.
When it's dark here,
Uh-huh.
where does the sun go?
That is a good question. Let me ask you a question. Okay? Is the earth round? Like a ball?
Yeah.
Okay. So the earth is round like a ball. Let's say that this is a ball, okay, and it's round. And I'm going to move it this way. The sun is here, right? So, and this part of the ball is lit because the sun is here. But the earth turns, right? So as the earth turns, this part here is no longer facing the sun. So what happens? It becomes dark. Okay, so it's the reason why, where does the sun go? The sun has a course that it moves in, but the earth also turns. And how we get day and night is because of the turning of the earth, and it goes out from the light of the sun, and it becomes dark, just like the moon. There are days you can go out and you can see a full moon, is that right?
Yes.
Then you can go out like 3 days later and it's not so full, and it keeps getting smaller and smaller, and then all of a sudden you don't see it anymore, right? It's still there, it hasn't moved anywhere, but the light of the sun is not reflecting on it anymore until it gets back into its face where it's facing that. God sees. See, who said 12 grades of education can't teach anything? Verse 12, and the earth brought forth grass and herb that yields seed according to its kind, and a tree that yields fruit. And God saw that it was good. And so the evening and the morning were what? The third day. So we finished days 1 through 3. And next week we'll look at day 4. The most important thing is that God saw it. And it was what? You're going to find that through each day God sees it and it's good. But you're going to find there comes a day when God sees it and it's very good. Okay? There's going to come a day when God is going to look again and He's going to recreate this world. And once again, He's going to look at each day and He's going to say, that's good. That's good. But when He gets to the end, He's going to look at you. And you're going to be there with Him throughout eternity. And then He's going to say, it's very good. Our closing hymn this morning is hymn number 633.